Hi, thank you for checking out the Evolutionary After Party with Molly Mandelberg. This was a really powerful after party. Molly really brought it. She was full of wisdom. It was spilling out all over the place. I watched it a couple of times already. I'm going to watch it a couple of times more. My suggestion to you is get ready to take notes. However, there was a small problem. I had a technical difficulty. The Zoom call did not pick up my microphone. Everyone else is fine, just me. That's the bad news. The good news is that I really didn't deliver much value here. This was by design was the Molly Mandelberg show, and she exceeded all of my expectations. And so my apologies for the weirdness of sometimes seeing my gums flap and nothing's coming out. But hopefully that doesn't detract too much from it. Trust me, most of the value of this show was Molly's words, and they came through quite clear. I hope you enjoy. And with that, here we go.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, partly why I accidentally started my business in the first place was because I was so turned on about the idea of hypnosis and hypnotherapy as a tool to hack my life, to heal my trauma, to change my perspective, to like create something new or different in my reality. And that interest or that curiosity led to getting certified, led to getting an office, led to accidentally starting my business and, naming it and getting business cards and whatever. All of a sudden I had to figure out who I was as an entrepreneur. But that first reason this even happened for me was that deep desire to reprogram, to heal the deep trauma and patterning that I had around creation, around being good enough, around being a support for other people. The fact that I could not only change my own life, but I could also help others change their life as well was like the driving force of like, oh my God, could I really do that? And then like, oh my God, could I actually get paid to do that? And then like, oh my God, could we actually exponentialize how much of that we could be doing if I was willing to get out of the way of that? And so it's been this sort of like compounding expansion of realizing it always comes back to what do I believe is possible? And what am I willing to begin believing is possible? And what would that create? And what else could I believe beyond that? And what would that create? And then seeing my life experience, my clients' experiences, my business experience shift and evolve as I unlock those little pieces inside of me. So they're intricately connected and related. And as I kept affirming and confirming and sort of proving that to myself, had to become more of the work that I do with my clients. Because for a minute there, I was helping people build websites with this like deep knowing inside of me of bigger magic. And so I knew that had to get integrated into the work I was doing, or I was going to hate what I did and I wasn't going to support people as much. And so it's been this amazing discovery process of how my clients get to begin acknowledging that their rest is still creation, that their pause allows new insights and ideas to come through, that their surrender and their inner work moments are creating and generating income just as much as their income generating activities are. So yeah, I build lots of practices in my own life and I test and I try things and I then help my clients do the same. So I kind of would like to just know, is there anybody that has anything pressing right now that they would like to bring to the table or ask or uh, dialogue with me on? And if there aren't yet, then we could do a little guided visualization meditation, that one of my signature ones that I do with my groups often. But if there's anything pressing right now, I'd love to take time doing that with people. Yeah, James.
So I'm actually in a coaching program already, and I was invited to this by Matt Cohn. I don't know if you guys know him, but uh, I'm in the process of following a lot of I'm loving what I'm hearing because it's like backing up the kind of things that I'm doing, and I'm doing a lot of marketing stuff right now, and it's until it's really hard for me to get out of that grind mode of, write an ad, test an ad, write an ad, test an ad, write an ad. Like, and so, and my whole life has been about just work hard, get there. So I don't know, like until I feel like if I don't find the message that I'm trying to create a program for teens who stutter to learn how to feel confident, and instead of it being let's fix your stutter, then you'll feel confident. It's like, let's make you confident, and then your stutter won't matter so much, and it'll just kind of ease off. So that's, and so trying to teach this. I feel like most parents don't know that they want to work on speech. I'm like, no, we got to work on the other stuff. And so I feel like I'm trying to teach these people what they need, and they don't want to hear that. They just want to hear fix my kid's stutter. So that's where I'm at, and it's a lot of grinding. And I wonder if you could speak to that.
Absolutely. I just want to start by acknowledging the beauty of the mission that you're on, because what an amazing choice for a niche and for a group of people to serve, and for like the radical difference in their lives that will make ongoingly over time. Like, extraordinary. I just want to say, wow, very cool. Way to go. Yeah, definitely. I think so. You kind of put the nail on the head as far as our marketing, that all they want to hear is you can fix my kid's stutter. And that, while it sucks because that's not the thing you think is most important, that often our marketing has to be geared towards what are they aching to get a solution for. And so some version of that, some title of that, or even calling out that as being the lie and having the point of view of you think the stutter is the problem or something like that, could be the way you call them out and get a chance to educate them on what's really going on or what the deeper work is really about. So marketing wise, that was just the hit that I got is, yes, you're on the nose. That's all they want to hear. And you can use that to your advantage strategically in the marketing side. But to go back to your question, which is it's all hustle and grind and make an ad and test an ad, there, the ads could probably work better if part of your time or energy was allotted towards the vision and the mission and tapping into that on a daily basis. So I'm not saying you have to journal or you have to meditate or there's any one right way to get to that vision connection, but finding some way or some time or some practice where you're thinking about those kids and you're thinking about the growing mass of those kids that you have then worked with. And you're thinking about the life that kid who in one hand could have a stutter forever and keep collapsing and keep feeling ashamed and keep making himself wrong, end up in a job he hates and never have a relationship, and all these ways that not solving that could really catapult wrongly or downshift him. And thinking about that one kid getting upshifted by receiving the support that you offer, and thinking about that magnetized by many and many and many more, the different world that you're creating, not just for them, but for everyone around them, everyone they ever meet. And like the collective of that, tapping into that vision. And it sort of creates, this is one of the meditations I usually lead with people, which maybe we'll do that if we have time, is the magnetic field that you're creating. So some of that magnetic field is the actions you're taking. It's the ads you're setting up, the work you're putting into testing them. But some of that magnetic field gets magnified when we connect to, why am I doing this? What's the purpose? And that's where that vision comes in. And you could write it out, the ideal world of this having reached hundreds of thousands of kids who stutter. What would be different? What would be different for you as the facilitator of that? What would be different for them? What would be different for their families? What would be different for the planet? How would society function better if those kids got that confident and changed that thing in their life? Like, connecting to that vision starts to build that magnetic field, which then just makes the ads work better. It takes some of the veil of this is just me testing ads away and starts imbuing all of that marketing with the energy of, this is what's possible. This is what's possible in your life. This is what's possible in your kid's life. This is the energy that your marketing carries either way. And we have the opportunity energetically to boost that pulse of why bother, why this, why now, with our own
I think the
energy.
energy my marketing's sending out right now is, damn, I'm really bad at marketing. Oh, I gotta be better at this.
Right.
Gotta grind and get like work and get better and better and better at marketing. And
Yeah.
then like it's this whole, if I do this, then I'll be good enough.
Yeah.
And so I like your idea of instead of meditating on marketing, I could be meditating on the end goal.
Yes, because when it really comes down to it, and I should probably talk about this more publicly, but I usually talk about it in all of my groups, is the words matter way fucking less than you think. It's the energy that you're delivering with the words that really, really matters. And so when you start focusing on the energy and imbuing that into whatever ads or marketing you're putting out there, it matters so much less that you got the words right because your energy is flowing through that ad into their life.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's magic. Thanks, James. Bryce, nice to see you.
Hey, nice to see you too. Thank you for everything already today. Great to see you
Yeah.
all. I would love to hear this meditation that you're speaking of as well. But I do want to the thing that I'm sitting with right now that I'm really wanting to tweak is sort of the opposite of what James was speaking to. I'll narrow it down to this. Creating structure, and I'm really benefiting a lot from what you've already said already, so I don't want to necessarily enroll you to repeat yourself a lot, but creating structure with consistency and or toward consistency, and also this mindset piece. Like I hear myself saying it's like the downfall of being very present, is it's like it's kind of a reset a lot. I'm just like, now I have no idea what I'm doing, and I guess I'll just kind of follow whatever feels good right now. And so creating like the accountability, and that was another piece that you said earlier of keeping it rolling in a way, and shifting the mindset, especially if I hit a depressive slump, or in a way where everything starts to get really cloudy and just futile, to like remember, remind of why do any of it, and to not that it has to be wonderful, but or feel really good in my body right at that moment, but a little something to shift me out of the dire.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for sharing that and for
What do I
asking
do?
Yeah, what do I do? I think, I mean, it's sort of, okay, well, I want to start with one thing that I haven't said before, and that's probably something all of you have heard before, which is the neural pathway programming thing. So our tendency is a very, very well-trodden path. We've been for years and many decades, most of us walking the same sort of neural pathway, that we tend towards certain kinds of thoughts, we tend towards certain kinds of beliefs, we tend towards certain kinds of behaviors, and that building a practice around your mindset. For me, that looks like journaling every morning, journaling every night. I could show you right here. I write like a half of a big page. I just wrote this half of a page this morning. That's all I write. But that practice mixed with, ideally, most days, 15 minutes of meditation, I know if I do that, I can show up as me. I know if I don't do that, like I didn't yesterday, by the end of the day, I feel crunchy. I feel bad and wrong. I feel spirally. I feel like I can't stay on top of it. I'm overwhelmed. And it's like, okay, but you didn't do your practice today. So it makes sense. So to go back to that neural pathway, it's the daily habits. It's the little moments that we bushwhack off of that neural pathway to a new one, that with consistency, the new one becomes the well-trodden one, and the old one gets overgrown and, freshly filled with snow, so that the tube you're riding down is more naturally going to go on the new one. So for me, those pages that I'm writing are usually a combination of 3 or 4 things. Gratitude, literally just simply writing, here's all the things that I see in my life right now that I'm grateful for. It looks like dumping any emotional baggage that I've been carrying. This happened with my partner. This happened with my client. I feel like crunchy about it, or, so-and-so bothered me, and here's why. Let me see what I can just get out of my system onto a page so that I don't have to hold it and stew about it anymore. It looks like that visioning I was just mentioning with James is literally just hyping up how good could it possibly get? What am I aware of is even possible right now? And then hyping me up. How good and right am I? How many ways am I actually showing up the way that I want to? Like, what little things can I appreciate about me, my body, my being, my show up ability? And I just hype man myself if I need it, or even if I don't need it. And that builds in those practices. Bye, James. It was nice to see you. Sorry, I don't know if we're going over time or in time, but time's weird. Nice to meet you. So that's what I would say, Bryce. First is like, what are the tools that we can lay in and build? I mean, really, the journaling and meditation, 20 minutes and done in the morning. It's 20 minutes of my life that I would be scrolling or I would be responding to emails. That 20 minutes is the biggest gift I can possibly give myself. And when I go into a depressive state, because I do have a history of chronic depression, that I lean it back into those two things. All I have to do is make myself do those two things. And when it comes to the accountability piece, if I'm avoiding a project or if I find it really challenging to follow through with it, I do one of two things. I get real with myself about whether that project's for me or for me right now. And if it's not, I set it aside. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It means it's not part of my world right now, and I'm not going to feel guilty about it anymore. The other one is, does it just need more support? Who can I call who may be working on something similar or working on something totally different that also might need accountability with their thing, that I can literally set up a weekly appointment with to just have someone sitting there to make me do my thing? And I'm doing that right now. My mom is an amazing writer, and she's been like in her mid 70s, like, I don't know why I'm not writing more. I'm not retired. I need to have more of a career. So me and my mom have a writing date now every week, but it used to be another friend of mine who was working on a book, the last book I wrote. Having that one little checkpoint means I am ticking away at that project, even if it's going pretty slow for me right now. I could add another hour a week. I could add another person I'm collaborating with, but having that accountability makes me follow through. So I just spewed a lot of things. Luckily, this is recorded. But did any of that land or tick you off?
Ma'am, definitely. No, that's great. If you could speak a little bit more into any tools you might recommend for structure, for scheduling, for keeping the, oh yeah, that. I'll contribute to that because I remember that it's there because of this thing you're about to say.
Definitely. Yeah. So one thing is scheduling. I found really in the first year or two of my business that it was causing me more anxiety to try and fit creative projects in between client stuff. So when I'm with a client, I want to be fully present with where they're at, what's going on with them. I want to be in their world. I want to get the energy. I want to get the words. I want to get the understanding so I can be as much support as possible. Then I was going to try and go, oh, I have half an hour between that client and that client. Let me make a social media post, or let me draft an email, or let me, build on that sales page and work on this thing. And then, oh no, I got another client. Let me change gears. So for me, the changing gears from one way of operating to another was causing a lot of like energy tension for me. And I found that if I could just have client days be client days, and even if that's less days a week and more hours a day, that gives me full blank days where I get to build the outline of where I'm creating, what I'm doing. I could stay in the tie-dye studio for hours if I want to, or I could stay with my book for hours if I want to. And nobody else's energy is going to pull me out of that. And I don't have to feel like I need to rush it. So that sort of like just blocking what happens in what portion of the day, or what happens in what days of the week, or even what weeks of the month. There could be a whole week each month where you don't output, you only input, or where you don't, whatever version of that is right for you. So that's one side of it. Let's see if I can remember the other side of it. Time blocking is one. Oh, just the way that I make lists. So I have on my calendar, I will put, I'm drafting that sales page on that hour of that day. If I get to that day and that is not ready to come out of me, there's like a ripeness quality. There's a gestation period for all creative projects that should not be forced but there's a knowing we have to build between, is it actually not ripe or am I procrastinating? So sometimes I'll say, you know what, it's just not ripe. I'm moving it to another day where it can live and not going to worry about it until then. But if it's me procrastinating, then I'm going to look at what do I need to summon to allow me to sit down and do this work. So I'll say right now, my calendar is one place for that. My mouse pad is where I keep my appointments during the day, the main projects that I'm working on, the ongoing projects that I'm working on, the clients that I want to make sure I'm keeping track of, the clients I'm hoping to follow up with so they become clients, the potential clients. And then I have a whiteboard on my left here that has each of my different projects and what my next action steps are for each. So when I'm building this main priorities list, I'm just pulling from what are all the things I know need to happen and which of them are most important right now. So I'm constantly letting every idea come out of that needs to happen, that needs to happen. Okay, I'm writing it down. But what needs to be in my attention right now? Only these 5 things, or these 3 things, or these 2 things. So that the full scope and weight of everything you're creating isn't on your shoulders all the time, because that would so easily squash us and so easily throttle our creative like mojo. But if we let every idea come, we're not losing them. They get written down. They have a place to live. That could be a Trello board. That could be a note on your phone. That could be a piece of paper, a notebook. But they don't all get to be bugging us at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so some structures and system actually give more permission for that creative stuff to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Krista. Hi.
Hi, so good to see you guys.
Yeah, so many worlds are colliding right now because you know Amy
Right.
and you know David and you know me and we all know each other too.
And now I'm getting to see Katie for the first time. It's just very exciting. So this isn't even really a well-rounded out question, but I'm just kind of feeling that from what I'm hearing you describe, I know I've been in this role of trying to figure out my masculine structures to kind of support my feminine flow. And every once in a while, I get this urge of, ooh, I want to talk about my business and I want to be in this. And then all of a sudden it just kind of dissolves. And I feel like there's almost like an intangibility about my business, because it doesn't feel like I study human design and Gene Keys, and I love that, but that's kind of like what I'm studying and just dropping into conversations every once in a while. I actually don't feel like I want to advertise about it or use that in my content nearly as much. But the rest of kind of my business and everything that I'm working towards just feels a little bit intangible. So I'm not quite, and then when I try to put a structure in place of, oh, maybe it's more relationship based, because I always talk about relationships and how they're your mirror, I then feel trapped into, this is kind of who I am. I know I can talk about different things, but it just kind of feels like all the entrepreneurs that I know, and this is the comparison thing that I know you were kind of talking about, they have a system in place. You know, I teach this, or I go through this, or I do this. And so it feels so much more tangible than just kind of this, I kind of just teach about consciousness and how to understand your own energy and how it's moving. And that just feels so intangible. And when I have conversations with people in person, it ends up just being kind of like yeah, I don't actually know how to talk about what it is I do, but if I work with you, I know exactly what I'm doing. It's a very intuitive process. And so I've been kind of stuck in this little pressure cooker of, I don't really feel ready. And at the same time, it's not because of like a deep fear or, you know, holding myself back in some way. I don't really actually feel like that's what's happening. It just honestly feels like something is cooking and I don't know how to give it a name. And yet I'm ready to move forward with something. It just feels intangible. And I kind of wanted to see what you had to say around that.
Yeah, thank you for bringing this up. It's like, it's a niche conversation, really, and a niche conversation can be really uncomfortable. It's emotional because you care so deeply about the work you do, and then there's these marketing gurus telling you it needs to make sense and it needs to be clear, and it's like, but it's not, because I'm working with magic, and I'll just say I'm 10 years into this and I market about all kinds of things, and I still have that question sometimes of like, what do I even fucking do? How do I talk about it? You're not alone there. It might not go away, but your dexterity with dealing with that feeling or that thought, it gets stronger over time. So
it is getting stronger.
Absolutely. And you have clients and you do work, and that's like proof in of itself that you're on the path and you're doing a business and you're sharing it with people in some way that's effective enough to bring them in, which is proof you're in business, and keep that in mind. So one thing I'll say is with the niche thing, when we're in that amorphous state of like, I don't know what the fuck, I don't know how to talk about it. How do I even, one of the really helpful places to look is, because you've already had clients, is what did they get out of it? And if you need to, you could go interview past clients and say, hey, what was the biggest thing that shifted while you were working with me? Or what was the biggest reason you said yes to working with me in the first place? You can also look back, if you take notes, and if you don't, start taking great notes on any consultation type of call that you have. What is the phrasing and the emotional language that those people use about why they got on the phone with you? What's the biggest challenge you're facing when it comes to whatever you think you do? And they'll start telling you about why they booked this call with you and what they want to get out of it. And their words and phrasing is your marketing gold. I would never talk about technology business systems as something that feels caged in. That's a very like visceral, emotional phrase about marketing or technology that I would never use. Even when I was stuck in the weeds 12 tabs deep trying to figure something out, I never felt caged in by it, because that's not my experience with technology and systems. I always feel like there's got to be a way and I'm going to find it. But my clients often feel that way. And so if I put that in my marketing, are you feeling caged in by technology? You want to share so much, but you know, feel this like deep sense of dread and overwhelm that you'll have to use some sort of software that you don't know how to use. Many of the people who are my ideal clients are going to be like, that's exactly where I'm at. So that language that you get from people actually telling you why they're coming to you will start to give you more input about how to talk about what you do. And here's the important thing to remember. When you choose your niche, when you start marketing about your business and drawing your people to you, we're putting something on the sign out front saying, here's what I do, here's who I am. It is the tiniest piece of pie compared to what they get when they come through the door. And it's hard to like dictate or quantify the magic that happens once they come through the door, but we have to give them just enough on the sign out front that they bother to come in at all. So it's okay to not be able to get the breadth of what you do into your marketing and your language. And it's also really valuable to come up with some of those things you could say on the sign so that they at least come through the door to get the rest of it. If that makes sense.
It does make sense. Yeah. I kind of feel like that's been, my energy hasn't been behind it, because the language that I'm hearing from certain people doesn't actually feel like something I believe in. And so
Right.
I think kind of similar to your first conversation with whoever jumped on with you a second ago before Bryce. But just kind of like that, what's my bigger vision of my why, so I can kind of get behind the energy so that I'm not getting tripped up on the words or, what it is that I'm hearing, even if it's something of like, that's not actually what I do, kind of a thing.
Right. Yeah. But also thinking about the people you've worked with that you had the best time working with. What were they going through? What did you most want to help them get? And speak about that. Usually the person you had the most fun working with is some version of your client avatar, so to speak. And the things they're challenged with, or the way they see their lives, their world, their whatever, is going to be similar to the other ideal clients you want to draw in. And so you could pretend like your marketing is just speaking to that person. Here's what I want Susan to know about her life, about her relationships, about how wonderful she really is, about what's possible for her. And I'm going to make my marketing about making sure Susan knows that stuff.
Can I add one more piece to it too?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really, I think that's kind of like going through those things have been where I've gotten the most clarity in a lot of ways. And then, man, there's like this burnout around social media of just seeing how many people are doing the exact same thing. And I know you had already said this too, of you could be doing the same thing as somebody else, but it's wildly different energies behind it, people that you'll be attracting. And I do believe that, but I almost think there's like a little bit of this burnout around you know, the intangibility of what I'm doing is going to go into mindset, shadow work, energy work, relationships, kind of things like that. And I have a hard time with coming at it from this angle of like, something's wrong with you. Like there's a problem that needs to be fixing. Cause I just feel
Tell
like we're
them
getting
that.
flooded with that so much.
Tell them that there's nothing fucking wrong with you. Your people are getting inundated with there's something wrong with you that needs fixing. Your message is there's nothing fucking wrong with you. And more
It's
is
very
possible.
true.
Yeah.
And
They
more
need
is
to hear
possible.
that. Yeah. They need to hear that.
That's really helpful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. When are we supposed to end by, David Knox? Okay, great. Okay, cool. Yeah, was there anything else on that, Krista?
I kind of feel like this is a good space for me to kind of be, it confirms what I've been feeling into a lot. So thank you
Yeah.
for that.
There's one more piece about that social media comparison thing is if you need to scroll less to free yourself up, do it.
Yeah,
Set
I've been starting to unfollow people and just no more
for a while, I
spiritual
was
leaders
like,
or anything.
I only go on those apps to fucking post and dip. Post and dip. And stop receiving other people's content if it's impacting your ability to create. And then also giving yourself a little bit of like experimentation energy where nothing is going to be perfect. And just imagine that nothing gets a vanity metric and you're just practicing making content. You're just practicing making a carousel. You're just practicing making a reel or whatever, that it's your playground instead of your like income source can free you up a little bit too.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for asking. Thanks for showing
I
up.
really appreciate it. Yeah.
I do.
Katie.
Your what you said about having an email list that like, you know, just that's been so impactful for you. I have a like I know that email lists are important and I believe everything that you're saying and I have like a total mental block against starting one. I've had it on my list of things to do and I feel like I tell myself that I don't know who to put on it. I mean, I've been working with I have been working in my business for 4 years, so I have clients, and if I had just put each one of them on an email list when I worked with them, I would have a good email list, but I don't. And so
Yeah.
what can you, I guess, say just to shift my mindset around that?
Yeah, I've got one. So it's a game, and I play this with a lot of my clients, which is make a free gift that can grow your email list before you even have your email list. And then suddenly you'll have this beautiful thing you want to share with people. And you'll have to figure out a way to deliver it automatically when they opt in. And all of that technology setup of the, bullshit of the email list now has a purpose, which is you're delivering this beautiful thing to your people. And as far as all those people who should be on your email list who never got on one because it didn't exist yet, some of them want to be on it, some of them don't. We send an email out to all of them personally, like a BCC, a Gmail, saying, hey, I'm about to be sharing a little bit more, maybe once a month, maybe less, maybe a little bit more about these kinds of things, which I know because we work together might be relevant to you. Would you like to keep getting updates from me like that? If so, let me know and I'll put you on the list. And if not, no worries, no pressure. But I wanted to make sure because we've worked together in the past that I at least asked you if you wanted to get those follow-ups, get those, check-ins from me moving forward. No big deal. I'm now off script. No big deal if they don't say yes. Usually when you finally start your email list, a very small percentage of your past contacts are going to choose to elect to be on it. And that's beautiful and right, because we only want people on there who are gung-ho, ready to hear from you. And some people really are and really will be. But yeah,
Thank you.
it's easier to bother with the setup of that if you have a fun thing that makes it, you want to set it up to share that. It could be just your first beautiful welcome email that you want to send out to everyone that you already wrote. And now I need a place to put that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thanks. Bye, y'all. Thanks.